Uh, Here we are. End of an archon quest. What a quaint feeling. A lot of lore in this patch. It's gonna take a long time to get through it all. Between the archon quest itself, the world quests, the readables, the books, the artifact lore, and that damned outfit. Anyway, I'm sure some here are interested in my thoughts on the outfit lore specifically. Was the identity of the Lord of the Seven Calamities, the Heavenly Principles, finally revealed? Well, we'll get to it when we get to it. I've been having to, go back and scour the archives regarding some of the implications in this outfit lore, and I imagine I'm going to have some, or a lot of interesting takes when we finally make the video. But till then, the Heavenly Principles place the Traveler spaceship on the Frost Moon. Why? The Traveler sibling may have been on Teyvat for thousands of years, given the spaceship once arrived at Teyvat thousands of years ago. Why? Teyvat has now become more detectable throughout the universe. Why? The shot at the end of the Archon quest shows the screen flicker indicating something's wrong. What is it? And why? Is Dottore truly dead? Why? Many questions, my friends. Many. The story starts at the Curatorium of Secrets. Apparently we were tailed on our way here by a Fatus, but this one is a friendly Fatus working under Arlecchino, who relays a message for her. Dottore is in his lab up north. Arlecchino and Sandrone are already headed there, and we're free to join them. We discuss all that's happened and conclude the Doctor seemingly was never truly loyal to the Tsaritsa. I, for one, am stunned at this revelation. A small cohort of us decide to go raid the Doctor's lab, and when we do, we find the research facility in ruins, bodies strewn about, abyssal monsters at every turn. We even watch a soldier be killed by bishops. We come across a subordinate of the Doctor who reveals the Doctor is attempting to build his own moon marrow. We then find the Doctor deeper in, and he welcomes us to his lab. We notice Arlecchino and Sandrone aren't here, and the Doctor explains the moment Arlecchino entered the facility, she disappeared. And as for Sandrone, while there was once a time she stood exactly where we were demanding answers, 'tis but a memory in passing now. We ask where Sandrone is and find out that Dottore sent his boys to attack the Experimental Design Bureau and slaughter the lot of Sandrone's subordinates, so she fled to go help them out. In the present, Dottore reveals he has 2, soon to be 3 moon marrows, and shall become a god. We then fight Dottore, but it goes rather poorly, given only has 2 moon marrows. Even after Arlecchino joins the fray, it still goes poorly. So we all decide to run away. Dottore then Traveler naps the Traveler and pieces out himself. The Traveler then finds himself in Nod-krai, but things are odd. People are in relationships they shouldn't be in, and a girl runs up to the Traveler saying we came to her house once, despite us never remembering such an event. It's then we realize this is a false memory, to which Dottore tells us, well done, before taking us somewhere else. Over to Columbina, she awakens in the moon's reflection and senses nothing. We walk around for a bit until we find a gate that takes us back to Moon Prayer Night. Columbina observes herself taking part in Barbeloth's divination, and when she points to the deck of cards remembering one card popped out on its own, it does again, causing Columbina to question if the reason the card popped out of the deck is because of what she did just now. Columbina is then dragged back to the moon's reflection, and over with the gang, Paimon cries like a little bitch upon learning the Traveler is not here. Arlecchino gives us a quick brief. Dottore has 2 moon marrows and is building the 3rd, and most importantly, he isn't being rejected by Teyvat, meaning when he gets 3 moon marrows, he will have control of Teyvat's primordial powers. Speaking of power, it seems Dottore's power is having an effect on Nod-krai. Parts of the region are being enveloped in these energy bubbles. Varka then decides to add that Dottore killed Diluc's father. Thank you, Varka. We all bravely conclude Dottore doesn't have real connections with anyone. It's all, just about usefulness. And Arlecchino states that Dottore usurping divine authority to become a god is treason of the highest order. Okay, I swear I remember Piero saying something similar, but she does go on to add, the Doctor is not going to follow the Tsaritsa's orders when he becomes a god. See, that's the real problem. There we go. There's always a hierarchy, folks. Paimon further cries, and then cries, and cries again. Sandrone pops in, says the energy field has swallowed the Design Bureau, so she's moved her stuff here. Paimon cries again, and then Sandrone
crying can help get it out of your system. You'll feel better for it.
Okay then, while the baby of the group is having a moment, how about the grown-ups get to work?
She checks the readings of everyone who fought the Doctor. Turns out he's placed a curse on them all that will only activate if they leave Nod-krai. Not sure what the logic behind that one is. Sandrone states, apart from the gods and the Descenders, Dottore has always found Tevat rather dull. Durin then pops in and states the energy fields are expanding and will soon swallow Nod-krai whole. We wonder if Columbina is dead, and Sandrone isn't convinced. We decide to evacuate Nod-krai by alerting neighboring nations to take in refugees. Back with Columbina, she finds a gate to another point in the past, enters it, interacts with it, and we learn the reason the traveler turned around that one time after Columbina disappeared was because present Columbina tapped on his shoulder. He felt the Kuvaki pulse, I guess is what we're chalking it up to. Columbina is then dragged back to the Moon Gate, over to the Traveler and Dottore. Apparently his work is done. Behind him is the completed Trilune with 3 moon marrows in it. Being a god, Dottore, with the snap of his fingers, instantly sends us into the city. Dottore then asks the Traveler a fantastic question.
Answer me this. If someone existed in a sweet dream from the moment they were born, a dream in which they never once felt pain, which do you think they would consider superior? The dream or the reality?
Who bravely refuses to answer. Dottore then gives us his take on relationships, stating at the most fundamental level, they're simply about mutual benefit, so he wants us to work with him. Dottore has the Traveler take a seat while he shows us the world and the extent of his godhood. Dottore asks us why we are able to walk but not fly, and then changes the rules and lets us fly. Dottore then speaks of the 4 shades. He states they control the laws of Tevat and anchor the world, but they themselves are not held back by these same laws they've imposed on others. Dottore questions who made the rules, and who has the right to restrict humanity. A fight ensues, and Dottore grants us the power of the 3 moons, allowing us to one-shot all our foes. Dottore then speaks of the idea that villains are the ones who more often than not push the boundaries of progress, and he's not afraid to play the villain. Dottore then says something interesting. He thinks it better to be governed by flawed humanity than a gnosis. Given a gnosis is just a symbol of divine authority, he's speaking of the gods. Dottore then speaks of the Traveler's experiences on Tevat, stating they must surely find it mundane doing the same things over and over again, and how unfairly the world has treated them. The Traveler gives, a long no, and then Dottore says the absolute wildest thing in a context.
Anything Columbina could do for you, I can do better.
Dottore then makes the Traveler an interesting proposition. Dottore can, right now, bring the Traveler's sibling before them and force them to give them the answers they desire. The Traveler just sort of avoids saying yes, which to Dottore signals the Traveler would rather continue on their journey and then find the answer at the end of that journey, but he asks them why. While the Traveler's journey has bore fruit in the form of friends, they could never hope to understand the void in the Traveler's heart for their sibling. Thankfully, the Traveler's now got old Dottore, and if the Traveler joins him, he can end the Traveler's journey by bringing their sibling before them and forcing them to give them the answers. The Traveler silently admits, Dottore's kinda cooking, Over at the curatorium, evacuation plans are still underway. Nicole bursts in. Apparently there's a catastrophe at the world's borders that's so big, Alice has gathered most of the Hexen Circle to deal with it, and if you're wondering if we're ever going to find out what this disaster was, keep dreaming, pal. Anyway, Nicole's here to help us, however, and gives us, a bunch of Dodoko communication devices. Back with Columbina, she finds another gate to the past and enters it. We swap shots to Nefer and Flynn's at the flagship, looking for clues that Columbina might still be alive. Columbina is also at the flagship and enters the Traveler's room and leaves a message on the wall using Kuvaki. Nefer and Flynn's also decide to enter the Traveler's room, and then we find out that while all 3 are at the flagship, it's at different points in time. Nefer and Flynn's are in the present, while Columbina is in the past to right after we defeated Rerir. Columbina then realizes every moment in the past she's entered is further than the last. Time moves backwards in the moon's reflection, and she's able to interact with it. Nefer and Flynn's find Columbina's message on the wall and realize her future is our past. Over with Sandrone and Albedo, Sandrone says her scans have detected 4 moons, meaning moon marrows. Nefer and Flynn then show up and share the Columbina news with Sandrone, but the crux of the issue remains. No one knows how to get Columbina out of the moon's reflection. Nefer then decides to take a personal item from the traveler's stuff to do black magic to find them, and over with Sandrone, you become Polonia and bring her a bunch of books. Sandrone is working on a world formula to calculate Tevat's fate given the unprecedented danger of the Doctor. I don't remember where, but one of these extra documents confirms that Sandrone was made by Alain Guillotine, or the fuck he said that nigga's name, who modeled Sandrone after his younger sister Mary Ann. So there you go, there's the connection. She's not Mary Ann, but was modeled after Mary Ann. Alain also made Polonia. The guy's good with machines, man. Sandrone does some fucking nerd math shit, mentions how Signora's heels used to drive her nuts, and then Polonia makes her tea. We swap to Arlecchino, who's meeting with Child. Child brings word that Fatui Internal Affairs, because I guess that's a thing, is reviewing the Doctor's case to see if he's turned coats. Before Child's very eyes, the Fatus turns into a monster, so they take it down, and halfway through the fight, Child all but asks Arlecchino for a spar, but she says no. This is apparently the Doctor's doing. Child then relays the Tsaritsa's message to Arlecchino. If Dottore is a threat, they have authorization to kill him. Child then asks how his old pal the Traveler's doing. Arlecchino tells him he's been Traveler now, and they ain't got a fucking clue where he is. This angers Child to the point where he begins to set off to find us and kill the Doctor, and what I'm sure would have took 7 seconds, but is immediately talked down by Arlecchino, reminding him, hold on, pal, there's still 3.5 hours worth of content left in this batch. Arlecchino does leave Child on with a final message, however. Make sure the rooster gets the message out to all the other gods of the nations. He must be a well-connected man, evidently. Arlecchino then states if they must, the Fatui will stay in Nod-krai and fight the Doctor to the bitter end. But Child states if things were to reach that point, it's likely the Tsaritsa wouldn't sit by and do nothing. Over to Albedo and Durin, who are by an energy field. We get a brief recap about elements, with Albedo telling us the 7 elements come from the light realm, and that's antagonistic to the void realm. Albedo hypothesizes that the energy field is made of light realm energy, and as such, because elemental energy comes from the light realm, using it on the barrier should dilute it. So he uses elemental energy, and it works. Durin then uses abyssal energy, which is hostile to light realm energy, and it works to an even greater extent. Scaramouche then appears and then creates an opening big enough for them to enter, and what they find inside is odd, dead bodies lying around everywhere with an animal by each body. We later learn Dottore has swapped the minds of the humans inside of that of animals, who naturally, just on instinct, return to their own bodies. Why he's doing this? Evil Doctor, I suppose? I don't think a reason is ever given. Nefer then uses black magic to enter the Traveler's mind and finds the Traveler wishing for her sister, and then goes deeper. Over to the Traveler, Dottore suggests sending them back to Conria because he can just simply recreate it with the power of the moons. As Dottore speaks of the friendship they're going to have, he notices something wrong. He spots Nefer in the Traveler's mind, who panics, and just as he's about to deal with her, she disappears, saved by Nicole, who forcibly pulled her out, but Nefer now knows where the Traveler is. Back to us, Dottore reveals while trying to capture Nefer, he closed the Traveler's eyes for an entire month by warping the flow of time around him specifically. Dottore says, yeah, he's still got some kinks to work out with this time power shit, but he'll get the hang of it eventually. Dottore then brings up a fantastic point.
I wonder if you don't understand humans all that well. They are very pragmatic creatures who understand only that which they can perceive with their senses. If I had you sit here for a week, I imagine people might sympathize. But if I left you here for 100, 1,000, or 10,000 years, the sheer size of that number would cause it to lose all meaning to them. They would not have the capacity to comprehend your suffering, and thus they could not empathize.
It's weird. When he said this, I instantly thought back to Star Rail and how Finon and Cyrene were trapped for 33 million cycles or whatever it was. He's true, man. It has no meaning to me, dog. Dottore wonders how long it'll be before this world rejects the Traveler for being an alien. That's funny. He reveals he feels bad for the Traveler, given what this world's done to him, but Dottore says he can change all that and give the Traveler his, rights as a true descender back. Back with Columbina, she enters another gate, and we're moments before Rerir's resurrection, and we find out Columbina was the one who protected Hisi Island from the cannon blast, and not Nicole like me and the entire universe thought. It took a lot out of Columbina, however, who remembers a tea time with Sandrone in the past, and they just talk about, tea time stuff. Columbina awakens in the moon's reflection once more, enters another gate, and we find out she's also the one who moved the books to help us find clues about Rerir's plans. This sends her back to the moon gate. She enters another gate, and this time it's right before the Traveler and Paimon are set to meet with the Frostmoon Scions for the first time. Columbina states she knows where the flow of time in the moon's reflection ends, so she's got a plan, but needs to find a way to alert the Traveler of her plans, so she creates something. Luanatar, a piece of Columbina's soul made to guide the Traveler, cause boy don't we love bootstrap paradoxes like their crack. Columbina then heads towards her own fate. Back with the Traveler, Dottore offers him the ultimate freedom. Kill with no consequences. So he spawns in two dudes, but the Traveler says, hard pass. And Dottore says, okay, well, let's return to the lab. He wants to show him some stuff.
Now to that question,
Heroes don't attack from behind. Guess I'm no hero.
This is most disappointing. Now then. A new face. Interesting.
We get confirmation that Dottore too was affected by the Irminsul changes and does not recognize Scaramouche. Back at the curatorium, everyone's glad to see the Traveler again.
Worry? Oh, yeah, right. You think we, the Fatui, were worried about you?
We were worried sick.
Hey!
Yehoda then turns down what would have been a fucking bro hug from Anegavarka. What a disgrace. Traveler recaps everything that's happened, and we come to the conclusion that the Moon Sisters were far beyond what we thought them originally to be. Nicole then literally just spawns in and gives us a recap of history. Nibelung made the three moons and their goddesses, who were made to wield Nibelung's authority and oversee the world in his absence, but then they just disappeared. We then swap shots to Columbina back at the Moon Gate, who runs into Rerir, who is just chilling. Columbina immediately throws up a shield, but Rerir, who's apparently had a coming to Jesus moment, states he has no interest in fighting, losing the previous fight. Seeing Dainsleif seems to have mellowed him out quite a bit, so Rerir says he hasn't a fucking clue how to escape this place, and thinks the only reason he didn't get torn to shreds this time is because of all the Kuvaki he absorbed in Nod-krai. Rerir says he's seen Delindis, but just an afterimage of her walking around, well, given she's dead. Rerir clocks Columbina escaped here to prevent someone from nabbing her powers because the one who revived him, that being Dottore, kept fucking speaking about it. Rerir asks Columbina for a favor. Take a message to Delindis for him. Given her soul is in here somewhere, he would do it himself, but he can't move. He's bound to this little area, and in exchange, he'll clear the abyss from, the moon's reflection, but then he just says he'll do it anyway. Rerir then kind of just says he's tired of being used as a monster and wants Columbina to tell Delindis his entire story, every horrible thing he's done and who he really is, because no more lying. He then clears the abyss, and Columbina relays to Rerir Dane's feelings toward him, who thanks her, and she leaves. It's, not long before she finds Delindis, and she realizes that despite the fact that Rerir and Delindis aren't very far away, they can never meet. Columbina tells Delindis everything Rerir has been up to since the Cataclysm, who tears up and apologizes. Delindis then clocks Columbina is the moon goddess, and she reveals that the reason she jumped into the moon gate was so she hoped she could go back in time and kill the Abyss sibling before they met King Ermin. Then Ermin would never have had the chance to become insane and use Rerir as an executioner. What a brilliant plan that was. But she died the second she hopped into the moon gate, so I'll put a stop to that. Delindis then states if Columbina keeps heading deeper in, she'll eventually go into the further past. She'll reach Nibelung's time. She then apologizes to Columbina on Rerir's behalf, and Columbina heads off. Delindis then shares some words for Rerir he'll never be able to hear, as the two are trapped in the moon's reflection for, the foreseeable future. Could be all of eternity. What a Greek tragedy this is. Columbina then comes across a lady who calls her little sister, and we swap back to the curatorium. We recap the moons went kabloom during the War of Funerary Flame, and state because Dottore is too powerful to fight, we need Columbina's power, and thus we need Columbina to return. Sandrone's calculations have stopped because she lacks the processing power required to calculate the fate of the entire world. Renee was able to do it, but, he used the Primordial Sea. After the group talk, Wanderer pulls us aside, says if shit really hits the fan, the Seven will get involved. He then asks if we trust Sandrone, and we say we do, and Wanderer says he has a solution for her computing power, so we need to talk to her. Scaramouche and Sandrone fight for a bit before he reveals his core, which has pieces of Irminsul in it, can handle her calculations. Given the complex nature in which Scaramouche was built, Sandrone wonders who could have possibly built this puppet. So Wanderer is now in hibernation mode. Over with Columbina, the one before her is Sonnet, the iridescent moon goddess. We follow the chipper Sonnet to meet the other two moon goddesses, Aurea of the Eternal Moon and Canon of the Frost Moon. Canon then reveals where they are. The moon's reflection is the prison Nibelung built for the three moon goddesses. This is where they disappeared to and have been imprisoned since the War of Funerary Flame thousands of years ago. They confirm Nibelung made them, but then, just left to explore other worlds. Then the first Descender arrived, and the Moon Sisters were a bit taken aback to learn of the new name given to this entity in later years, the Heavenly Principles. At first, the sisters viewed the first Descender as a guest in their home, and given they harbored no ill will towards the guests, they coexisted peacefully. The Moon Sisters say things changed, however. This guest had a growing desire to change and dominate this world, and the Moon Sisters, bar Sonnet, weren't interested in stopping this change. Later, the sisters would uncover the ruler of the firmament bore a, quote, paranoid hostility toward the desire of certain life forms to seek power, wondering if they feared this outcome. This is almost certainly in reference to the Heavenly Principle stopping any and everyone from collecting abyssal power. I don't know why this is framed like, we're stopping people from getting fucking juice instead of water. No, we're stopping people from fucking drinking liquid mercury. It's propaganda, bro. Who knows? Maybe the Moon Sisters like the Abyss. The Moon Sisters then say the divine nails were cast down to punish the world below. I mean, now we're just lying. I don't know, bro. Canon says while the rules of the Descender brought order, the price people paid for testing those rules was too high. Apparently, the Moon Sisters were working on some kind of plan to fight back against the Heavenly Principles, but then Nibelung returned, and given the sisters were imprisoned before the War of Funerary Flame ended, they asked Columbina Who won the war? Columbina states the heavenly principles did, and Nibelung was killed. Sonnet asks what came of the moons, and Columbina responds 2 were crushed, and only the frost moon remains behind the false sky. This means Aria and Sonnet are as good as dead if they ever leave this prison, so all the sisters decide to help their little sister Columbina. Back with Sandrone, her scans reveal something impossible. The amount of living moons, meaning moons with lunar authority and are alive, is not 1, but 3. In a different shot, Nicole hypothesizes Nibelung imprisoned the Moon Sisters in the moon's reflection. Nicole then somehow clocks Luanatar is an anchor left by Columbina in the future. I mean, sure, bro. I guess we just gotta fucking move the plot along. Sandrone then calls in and states her findings, which indicate that Columbina is currently alive and did something in the past that's allowed her to live on in a form unimaginable to us in the present, and it involves the moon. Back with Columbina, she relays what the Doctor has done to the others. When the word Kuvaki is brought up, however, the other moon goddesses aren't aware of what that is, which confuses Columbina, as the legends say Kuvaki exists in Nod-krai, given that's where the moons first rose, but then canon states the power in Nod-krai is no different than that of the power of everywhere else in Teyvat. Columbina then shows them Kuvaki, and they confidently state this power did not exist when they existed. Columbina then reveals in order to fight someone with trilunar authority, she needs her own trilunar authority, and is thus asking them for their power. They ask how Columbina would plan to leave this place, and she says she won't leave alive. The shot switches back to us. Nefer realizes she can use Luanatar to use black magic and see what Columbina did in the past, but looking this far in the past will blind her, allegedly. Nefer does the black magic, and Columbina reveals she's going to die in this prison and be reborn in the future thanks to her friends. Apparently, Columbina is going to leave her soul here, and Luanatar is going to pull her back to the present. As for her body, she's going to turn it into moonlights and shine it over all of Nod-krai, baby. Aria and Sonnet are on board instantly. Canon's case is a bit bizarre, given the frost moon is still intact, so she could just, if she walks right out of here, she'll live perfectly fine, no problem. But Canon makes it clear if her sisters are going out, she's going out too. Canon does have one final question, however, which is why Columbina covers her eyes. And she just says, the world's full of lies, man. I got tired of looking at it. I didn't want to see it. And Canon just says, man, open your eyes, man. Yeah, there's bad shit, but there's good shit too. Take a look. They then do voodoo to give Columbina their authority, who then places it in the frost moon. This is why, by the way, in the present, Sandrone detected 3 authorities, because that's where Columbina placed the authorities. She placed them in the frost moon, and just before the 3 of them die, they ask Columbina to send them to Teyvat so they can die there. But remember, Columbina is sending them to the Teyvat of 6,000 years ago. Anyway, Columbina realizes the source of Kuvaki in Nod-krai.
May it be a companion to all who dwell beneath the moon. Until the time comes for me to return home.
Anyway, Nefer's not blind. I'm shocked, truly. Apparently, Columbina protected her. The gang then begins discussing the upcoming fight with Dottore, and elsewhere, Varka and Nicole seemingly agree. If they fail, the world's fucked. Given Sandrone's calculations state Columbina's return is the best shot at victory they have, they need to stall Dottore till she returns. Varka then cashes in on his once-in-a-lifetime Hexen Circle protection request that was meant to be for Mondstadt, and Nicole obliges.
It's been many long years since I had a chance to dazzle humanity with a little divine intervention. To humbly serve as a reliable and responsible guide.
We meet up with Sandrone, who reveals a device that shows us the progress of her formula that must be completed before Columbina can be brought back. We then check in with everyone, clear out some hordes, and then the Doctor appears.
The experiment begins.
We fight him for a bit, but it goes terribly. He sort of just warps all our teammates into the Shadow Realm till it's just us. Dottore clocks we're trying to bring Columbina back, laments things didn't work out between he and her. He then offers the traveler another chance to work with him, who says no, so Dottore gets ready to smite the non-believer before Sandrone shows up, to which Dottore says, "Great! He'll dispose of that little formula here and now."
Is this your life's work? This piece of trash? Your formula runs too slowly, Sandrone. You put your hope for success on others instead of fighting dirty. That is why you have failed. Now, whom should I slay first? Any volunteers? No one? How nice of you to leave the decision to me. Oh, how unexpected. Sandrone, any last words for me, comrade?
Is there anything you wish for?
Not really. But I've always known what I don't want. Go to hell, Dottore.
No!
And now, you have failed.
Dottore celebrates Sandrone's death, as with it, the formula that was running in her body has ceased to run. Dottore again offers the traveler another chance to work with him, and they call this guy ruthless. He's the man with unlimited chances. Dottore then randomly breaks down how and why Sandrone failed.
It is pointless to fight on. You've already lost.
Wrong. You can't win this, Dottore.
What?
My formula can get us 90% of the way. It will connect you to Columbina. Then, I will bring the formula's output to the traveler's side. For the last 10%, do whatever it takes. Just bring the moon down.
will never be yours!
I turn my body into moonlight and pour it over Nod-krai. My soul, I leave here to inform my future friends. Lastly, I will hide the Trilune authority within the Frost Moon. And when my body, soul, and authority are reunited, finally...
Columbina!
It's been too long. I'm back.
We fight again. It goes better, I guess.
Blind. How can you be so satisfied with your fate?
This battle was never about fate. It's about friends, family, and the home you stole from them.
So dull. Only the weak rely on each other for comfort. You shall see. Once I transcend fate, you will be nothing but fodder for my grand experiment!
That will never happen. Lights up this world once more!
This loathsome world.
No. This world is our home.
Following the battle, the moon looks different in the sky. Everyone's noticed it, and this would be because, well, it's the real moon, the real frost moon. It's now in front of the false sky. Some league is forming in Nod-krai, with all the factions having a representative, and Nicole checks in and reveals to us the recent events have made Teyvat easier to detect from the outside universe. We see Arlecchino and Wanderer off, and they reveal Sandrone's body was never running the calculations, rather, it was Polonia's. Arlecchino is off to Fontaine to deliver her and Polonia's core to the research institutes. The most hilarious piece of dialogue in the game is then uttered. Apparently, the Pale Star Edict, which came from the highest rungs of the Fatui, demanding the capture of Columbina, has been revoked by the Tsaritsa. Apparently, this was all Dottores doing. Alright, bruh. Sure. We then go to see Columbina about our sibling. Should have just took Dottore's offer at that fucking point. Columbina tells us our spaceship is hidden on the Frost Moon, and it was hidden by the heavenly principles. We then head to the moon and see our friends passed along the way. We then make it to the moon. We spot Earth and Teyvat and our ship. We check the flight logs and find something startling. This isn't the first time the twin ship has been to Teyvat. Once long ago, the ship flew over Teyvat, barely came to a stop, and flew on again for thousands of years before making a forced landing in Nod-krai, which makes the traveler think Lumine might have left the ship during that first flyover, and given the siblings' memory was wiped when they came to Conria, they might not even know this. The traveler then runs back to the ship to show Columbina new clothes, and states that Teyvat is their home. Columbina reveals Lama has the eternal moon marrow and Arlecchino the iridescent, so, she's going to return all the Kuvaki she's got to Nod-krai, but she'll be fine because now that the frost moon is within the false sky, she has something tethering her to Teyvat. But this makes you wonder, because we can't see the false sky from where we are, so was this some sort of fucking galactic false sky? God bless Fanes, man. Oh my god. Columbina then lifts some of the restrictions the world has placed on us, which is the lore reason for our buffs. We then ask Columbina some questions. She gives us recommendations for places we should visit in Snezhnaya, says the Tsaritsa is ice cold, baby, and then states the Tsaritsa has never acknowledged nor accepted that power. About the Fatui, she reveals the Rooster and Regrator despise one another. Regarding Project Stuja, Columbina reveals a word she often heard come up was Milstatine. Folks, in Norse mythology, Milstatine is the sword wielded by Thrain, which, if you remember, is Capitano's Notlantian name. Back on Teyvat, Varka is preparing to return to Mondstadt, looks up at the moon, and the false sky seemingly shudders, indicating something's wrong.